Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to our random review. Today's random review is from 1977, and it is Tomorrow I'll Wake Up and Scald Myself with Tea. This is a film by Jindřich Polak, and this is a second run Blu-ray. Now, Polak also directed Ikari XB1, also available on second run Blu-ray, which is a very stately, elegant science fiction film about a space mission, which is very grown up and elegant. Tomorrow I'll Wake Up and Scald Myself with Tea is a hilarious knockabout comedy about a plot to go back in time to 1944, not kill Hitler, but give Hitler a hydrogen bomb so he can win the war. Because as we know, there's always the philosophical question, if you could go back in time and kill Hitler as a child, would you do that, even though you would be known as a child murderer? This film does the inverse of that and features a group of Germans who want to go back and save Hitler and make sure the Nazis win. Which sounds like a terrible idea for a film, but it's actually one of the best films I've seen this year. This film was mentioned by Chris Mohan when he did a 70s science fiction conversation with Nazwin Prod, which I will put a link in the description below. I'm not going to go into too much detail of the plot because it's just an absolute joy. I mean, some people might not find it funny, but I knew as soon as the credit sequence hit that I was going to really enjoy this film. Some films you just kind of know within a very short period of time of starting watching them. So we're introduced to this group and then the credits start, which are hilarious. The film also has a wonderful 70s score that is just quite fantastic. And we're introduced to two identical brothers, one of which is a pilot, because time travel is like cruises, so they have trips to ancient Egypt, when dinosaurs ruled the earth, are just two of the locations that you can travel back in time. So one of the brothers is a pilot and the other brother is a scientist who did the tests for these rockets that go back in time. So he has a knowledge of the rockets as well. And they live together, and in the morning, as the scientist Jan, he scalds himself with tea, and his other brother dies choking on a roll, and Jan takes his place, but unbeknownst to him, his brother is part of this plot to go back and help Hitler in 1944. Now, the brother who was the pilot is a bit of a rogue. He has about 3 different women going on at the one time. Brother Jan lives a fairly solitary life and kind of takes his place to get a bit of excitement, but obviously he takes a little bit, he ends up being involved in something that is a little bit too exciting. And they go back to Germany in what they think is 1944, but it might not exactly be 1944. And again, I'm not going to go into detail about what happens, but no shortage of time travel and hijinks ensue. The leader of the plot to go back in time is just absolutely wonderful. There's lots of gags that we've perhaps seen before, but they're just performed so well. The sense of comic timing is just wonderful, and the film is an absolute blast. It's a perfect example of what second run do so well. It's a film that perhaps was lost for years. The print, looks really good. It does have, some damage to the print, some artifacts in the print, and it's probably just because the stock film materials weren't that great to start with. But it's wonderful that we actually have it. The only extra on the second run edition is a commentary by the projection booth with Kat Ellinger, Jonathan Owen and Mike White. And again, they talk about, and Kat Ellinger mentions it was maybe on the BBC in the 80s once, but it's never really been seen since. There's lots of confusion about the title and different variations of the title. Obviously you get a nice little booklet, second run, with images from the film. There's the American tourist that goes with them back to Germany by accident, and there's Hitler as the time travellers are trying to explain to Hitler what's going on. They do show him a nice projected film of the end of the war and Hitler's reaction to that. Obviously there's parts of it that are just broad farce, but again it's just performed so well and so beautifully, and as I say, the comic timing is just impeccable. It's just an absolute joy. There's not too many films that will make me laugh out loud, but tomorrow I wake up and scald myself with tea. There's moments that made me laugh out loud. Again, it's just one of those films that I certainly knew I was going to love within the 5 minutes of the pre-credit sequence and then the credits. And again, that wonderful 70s score. There's lots of little jokes. I mean, also everybody's speaking Czech, including the American tourists, who one of them claims to have never heard of Waterloo. Surely you mean Watergate. It's just an absolute joy, and again a perfect example of another wonderful second run release of a film that certainly I'd never heard of, but I highly recommend it. Again, there's a chance you might not like it just with the humour, but if you do, it's really wonderful. And as with all time travel films, things get complicated and things have to be done to sort everything out, but it's just an absolute blast. It's 95 minutes, that absolutely flies by. In some ways you wish it was actually longer, because they're wonderful characters to spend time with, and it's just an absolute joy. So thanks so much for watching this random review of a fairly random film. Tomorrow I'll wake up and scald myself with tea. And hopefully you'll join me again for more random reviews. Please let me know in the comments if you've seen Tomorrow I Wake Up and Scald Myself with Tea and what you think of it. And as I say, hopefully you'll join me again for more random reviews. This is Saul Chironin from Saul Chironin Films, saying farewell.